And we should be live. Welcome, everybody. Thanks for watching. I'm Jan Koch, the host of the WP Agency Summit. And I am here with Sam from Fixrunner, who runs a very, very exciting maintenance company. Sam, thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you very much for having me on your webinar.
Absolutely. And it is the first webinar that you are doing. So I'm very honored that you chose me to be the one hosting this. For everybody who's watching, please let us know where you are watching from. It's always exciting to see all the different continents get engaged with each other because we are streaming to various places on Facebook and YouTube. And it's always super cool to see people from all across the globe connect on these events. So just leave a comment with where you are watching from. And also, I want to encourage you, as we're going to talk about how to build an agency, how to build the maintenance part of an agency, rather. And Sam is going to share some of his lessons learned around managing stuff, managing the day-to-day, hiring, training, onboarding customers, and so on. There will likely be sections where you have questions about. So please always ask your questions. That's the one thing I cannot stress enough. Sam is a really nice guy. So don't feel intimidated, even if he's running a very successful WordPress agency. Always ask your questions. That's why we do these webinars. We want you to get value out of this. With this being said, Sam, can you take a minute and introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. So again, thank you very much for having me on this webinar. And yes, I didn't really do interviews since I opened this company. I was, more in a direction of working on getting traffic from Google ads and organic traffic. And then I started a little bit, talking to some people in the community, and I'm in a stage that I want to share some of the things that I've learned and hopefully help some other people that are trying to make it in this industry. So thank you very much for that. I'm Sam Mulaim. I'm 41 years old. I'm Israeli. I live in Israel. Today I have 3 kids, boys. That's more or less about me, and I run this company Fixrunner full-time from 2016 is where I started committing to this 100%. I did a lot of things online before that, but this is basically today the only thing that I'm working on.
That is so exciting, like a full family of 3 and then even running such an exciting company. You couldn't do this without your team, I assume. So I would love to start with that aspect. What was your first hire?
Yeah, so definitely, I always tell my team, I'm very lucky as far as that. I always had good people with me, and definitely, my team and their dedication is everything. So, when I started, it was just, I decided that I'm tired of all affiliations that I'm doing. I did all kind of affiliation stuff, and I got tired of it, and I wanted to build a firm business that is actual business and not some kind of an affiliate program. So then, I had Fixrunner, which is something that I thought of in 2013. So at the beginning, it was only me, and I made another hire from Upwork. That's how it started. In 2016, I said, I'm here. I recognize that this is a real need for many businesses. So I started running this business by myself from home, hired a guy from Upwork, and we started running the agency. I remember that I put my Google AdWords live, and I was actually able to get some customers in the first month. And then, I realized, okay, so this, this is what I like to do. And at the beginning of my company, all my hiring was from, the first one was from Upwork. The second guy that I got was also from Upwork, and the third guy was already, a friend of one of the guys that is working for me. That's how it started. So after I had the 3 guys working for me, I was already close to, after 1 year, to about 100 members. So
wow.
yeah, after 1 year, I was in, almost at 100 active members, and
So
then I had
that is paying customers, members
yeah,
of your retainers, of your packages,
yes,
essentially.
yes, yes. After the first year, and I knew from the beginning that it's going to be pretty hard to, grow the business from home, hiring remotely some freelancers. So I basically had a trip to Belgrade. I went to, I saw there was a really cheap ticket to Belgrade. I always knew that I want to go to Eastern Europe to find some, good talent and maybe open an office. So I went to Belgrade, and back then I was already a customer of Managed WP. A lot of people are know Managed WP. So I came there, and not called, but sent a message to my account manager. His name is Neymania there. So he invited me to go to the office, and when I went to their office, first of all, they were extremely nice, and offered to help me in any way that I need. Just for my first visit over there, I told them that my business is growing, and I want to have some base in Europe where I can hire some people to help me grow the agency. So they were so nice that actually on my way back to the airport, I decided I'm going back to Serbia fast, and it was as fast as 10 days later I was back in Serbia.
That is nice.
And I basically took an office. I found someone to assist me. She's actually with me until today, helping me with everything that I need there. So I started hiring people in Serbia, and that's how the company started growing. By me coming to Serbia, and I found some good people. Some of them brought friends, and that's how basically I have my team today.
That is a really inspiring story. I would love to dive into this, and I think you have to come to Croatia soon too to meet Ivica.
Absolutely, we're already planning that.
That is so cool. Thanks everybody for spending time with us. I love seeing you here. So essentially, you took the opposite of what everybody else seems to be doing in this space. Everybody else talks about remote hiring, just going to Upwork, onlinejobs.ph, or any other platform and try to find remote talent. You took a step in the opposite direction, built a real office and brought people together in that office space. Why do you think you took that step rather than focusing on more remote work?
Well, we can talk a lot about that, because now there's a twist. COVID came. My office is still there. I mean, I still have my office, but all my guys are working remotely. So the office is basically just there. We're, the whole 8 months I visited only one time, and some of my guys are going there once in a while. So, it's a little bit of a twist, and I'll talk about it in a minute, and, how I actually changed a little bit the way the business works to fit to the current condition. So, when I thought I should take an office in Serbia, one of the reasons was that I knew that once I have my developers together, a lot of them are together, it will be easier to train them. It will be easier to get the business going faster. I will have more control over some of the things that are going on in the business. I like meeting people. I like, have an actual connection with the people that I work with. So I guess that's it was a really good decision going in that direction. Yeah, to take some of the team there and develop all my team in Serbia. Just because I thought about the training part, which was true up until 8 months ago. So, when COVID started, then we started seeing some of the problems that we have. It wasn't real problems because everything was still functioning very good. But I started seeing that when I'm bringing more people on board, it's a bit harder to train them. And it's a bit, depressing when you're home all day. Some of my guys didn't really like it. I mean, I gave them the option to work some days from home, but some of them want to go outside and talk to people and hang out together. And we're doing fun stuff. A lot of time when I'm coming to Serbia, we're either going to some dinner, the whole team, or doing some uh, ski water, or all kind of things that basically makes us a good team, and it feels like almost like a family. It's not just some people in different places around the world that don't know each other and have no connection. So this is basically why I chose this way. But since COVID started and they're home, I don't know. I don't know even if when all this will end. I don't really know if it will ever go back to be the same way it was, because a lot of things have changed. And I started doing things in the business to fit to that situation. So, for example, we have built, in the past couple of months, we've built a really impressive portal for our team. So whenever somebody comes, and a new member comes, there is a portal with a lot of information that we put into it from our knowledge. That is, really quick notes or a quick video, not something that we really have to invest a lot in making it pretty, like when you find all kind of info on the blog. So when they will be able to come and learn some of the things that we have learned quickly and easily. So that's how basically we're trying to do it today, in a way that
is that the main resource for training your staff, this internal portal that you have?
Well, it cannot be the only thing, because we gathered a lot of knowledge during the years, so we're still pouring stuff into it. But it's that, and we have people with experience in the company. So team leaders will at the beginning will take somebody that just joined, and will train him slowly on the process of things that we have set from start. So I guess it's both. It's the portal. We're aiming to do a lot of it through the portal, and it's not only for training. It's also for like some of my team that is doing tasks, and sometimes not everyone remembers everything. So we have all kind of checklists and all kind of quick fixes, and whenever somebody's running into something really hard, you just put the information there, and then really helps us do the management.
Your ultimate knowledge base, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
I love it. And then you have what sounds like a mentoring program, which I really love, because it fosters relationship in between the teams. And when you have somebody who's more experienced guide the junior people through the process, I think that has two benefits, really, from my perspective. One, obviously, the junior learns how to do things your way. But then also, I would imagine the senior people who's mentoring actually takes on responsibility for the performance of the junior guys, because he will also be held accountable against how the people he mentors or she mentors are performing. And then you have the self-enforcing training program, really, that ensures you always have high quality in training.
Definitely. It's something that really helps. It helps them as well. When somebody new come and he knows, first of all, we don't put a lot of pressure on them, especially at the beginning. Imagine somebody comes to a company, he sees, a lot of tickets, he doesn't know the processes. The minute you tell him, hey, first, you don't have to be stressed about anything. And anything you don't know, you have this person to go to where you can ask questions. And I always tell them, even if you have to ask the same question 10 times, we're okay with that. I don't want to put pressure on anyone that comes and work in our company, because I don't believe in working under pressure in any way. Of course, growing as a company, we had points that we had pressure. Maybe we got a lot more tickets than that what we would want to get with the current team we have. But then we did the steps and more hiring and the changes we need to do in order to reduce the stress. But going back to your question, definitely having somebody senior being attached to somebody that just joined, no matter how experienced the developer is something that helps a lot. Believe me, I've seen people that are really experienced developers, but when it comes to the basic maintenance and debugging, they're not they're not trained to do it. They never do it. You know, they know how to write a API code, but they wouldn't want to know. They wouldn't know how to track exactly, you know, a speed issue of a website, which is not always a plugin, like, you know, a lot of posts you see on the internet. So that's something that requires, you know, experience.
A lot of experience. Yeah, I agree.
Definitely.
Yeah, and we do have a really nice question from my friend Lee coming in that I would like to shove into our conversation right now. It is a little bit in depth, but I think it's a really nice segue into how you structure your support. And that is, how do you handle WordPress multi-site support? Do you offer that level of support? Because it is a different beast than just having your standard WordPress site.
It's funny. It's a funny question because we were talking about it today. Me and one of my team leaders. We have a customer that is asking about a multi-site, and he was telling me, you know, I'm trying to convince him not to go with a multi-site because every post you almost read on multi-sites in the internet, it says, you know, we don't really recommend going with a multi-site, but if you decide you really want to go with a multi-site, here is what you need to do, ABC. Now, a lot of people don't understand that, you know, multi-site is not for somebody who have 2 or 3 websites. That's not the real use of it. We don't recommend people going with that. Just because it's easier to manage and work on regular websites. But when it comes to multi-sites, yes, we do offer support for that. It really depends what is the amount of websites that this person have on the network. So, you know, if you have up to 10 websites, it would be under our advanced plan, which is $149 a month. If you have more than that, he will go on a call with one of our agents, and we're basically gonna fit a plan for him, unless it's a one-time fix. So, you know, we'll also give it a quote accordingly. It's always more expensive than dealing with a regular website because not all my team is trained to work with multi-sites. Me
And
personally, I
also,
have a lot of
multi-sites
experience.
are very hard to debug sometimes too.
Yeah, it's harder to debug, especially with websites that have a lot of websites on the network. That's, you know, tricky. We always try to do all the debugging, obviously, on a staging environment, which is another story because you have to create a staging environment. It doesn't always work as it should because it's more complex. So yes, we do offer support for multi-site, but it's definitely not within our regular pricing.
Yeah, thanks for that. That makes total sense. And actually, I would love to use this question as a segue into your selling structure and into your package structure. You've touched upon it very briefly that you have one-time fixes, and most people find you via Google Ads or organic traffic. And then from the one-time fixes, you have a process in place that enrolls them as a member. So that is putting them on a retainer that provides this lovely recurring revenue we are all striving for. Can you please walk us through the process of maybe setting up the Google ad campaigns and then onboarding them to the one-time fix and then the upsell?
Right. So as far as the Google ads, I don't do it myself anymore. There is not even somebody in the company that works full time for that. I hired a third party to do the Google ads for us, but it's Google ads like everyone knows. You know, you can advertise under many keywords for Google ads. But I think the more important thing is the actual process. So, you know, I'm not the biggest expert in creating Google ads, but I can share what we do as far as the process. So we have quite a lot of members, as I told you. I would say 95% of them started from a one-time fix. Very rare that somebody would come and sign up for a maintenance plan immediately, unless they got recommendation on our service. So it works like that. Let's talk about the Google ads. Okay, let's say somebody is looking for WooCommerce support. He has an issue. They're coming to our website. They have few options. One option, they start chatting with one of our support agents. They describe their issue. We give them a quote for whatever we think it is. It starts from $49. We give them a quote. If they agree to the quote, we tell them, we're going to open a ticket for them. We don't ask them to pay upfront, which is our first interaction with them, imagine somebody come to us with an issue. We hear what is the issue. We take the information, we give him a quote, and then we open a ticket. We don't take any payment in advance. So everything is done quick. He just came, he got like an answer quickly, he got a quote, then somebody immediately start working on it. Works on that, the issue is fixed. At that point, the person that came to the chat had an issue, came, explained what is the issue, we fixed it, and he's happy. That's the first bonding we have with them. We're building the trust right there. Once we have that part done and we're making sure that the customer is happy, then we review the website and we see what else we can do for them. A lot of websites, you'll be surprised. You go into the website and you see 100 plugins and the website is really slow, or you see that it's not really optimized, or it doesn't have backups, or there's many, it doesn't have SSL. I mean, every website almost have things that can be offered. So that's where we offer them a call. We tell them, you have an option to get a free review of what we can do for you. If you're not interested, here you go, here's the payment, you can pay for the fix. So we don't try to invent stuff or try to make them go on a call and only then give them a link for the payment. We give them the option. You want to get a free quote, a free review, let's go on a call. You want to get a quote for the fix, you want to pay for the fix, here's the fix, here's the link, and then he pays for that, and that's the end of the interaction for this time. So we have a lot of times that customers are interested to know what we have to say. We go on a call with them, we explain to them. Now, it's different for every website. Some websites have issues with speed, some websites have issues with malware that we see once we connect the website to BlogVault. So it's really different for every website. And then some of them will decide to join on that call to the plan for our minimum 3 months. And then basically once they are with us for 3 months, it's enough time for them to see what is the value of our service. Not everyone stays with us, but a lot of them do stay with us because they see the value of the service. Now, one important thing that I want to say is we have many cases that somebody would come for a small fix, will pay $50, he will pay, and he will leave. He will not want any call. But then the numbers and reports that I'm pulling and seeing, and with the experience of the years, I can say that a lot of them will come back for more fixes. And we had many cases that people came for first fix, second fix, and on the third fix, they already joined membership. So, I have not one case, as many cases that somebody came, paid $50 for a fix, and a couple of months later, they became a member that pays hundreds of dollars a month for the support that he needs, because it's different. Some are just small mom and pop shops, some are big enterprise. It really depends on the level of website they have.
I love your emphasis on not selling your customers too hard on the retainers. I think that is something that many people can learn from. Excuse me. That is just having a conversation with your customers and just being transparent about what you can do for your websites or what you cannot do for your websites. Because I would imagine that if you come across a website that is highly customized with some custom code that a developer wrote who didn't care to document the code, then it is a very different beast of maintaining that website or even fixing the simplest bugs on those websites. And I like that it is essentially the tripwire offer is the one-time fix to get the foot in the door with the customers and to show that you know what you're talking about and that your team can deliver. And then you can foster the relationship from there with all the content that you put out on your blog, and maybe you email market to them and build a relationship to then confirm the fit for the membership.
Right. So definitely. I mean, I think that what really makes people do business with us at the end of the day is it starts from fast response. Okay, nobody wants to have an issue and wait for 2 days for somebody to reply to him. So we're talking about fast. We're talking about minutes. Anyone who's watching this can send a message on our website, just a question, and he'll see how fast he get the response. So that's the first thing. Second thing is that we fix it, and we fix it quick. Another thing that buys a lot of the customers is that we don't take the payment up front. So definitely that helps. They don't know us. They just want to get the website fixed. It has a lot of issues, that we can talk about. Like some people are not paying for the service, even though that they got it. But most of them do. I mean, I'll put it in short that most will pay. And that's basically buys the trust with the people. Like you said, it's that's what really brings in the most of the business. So we talked about Google Ads. It can be the same thing from organic results. So we have a lot of articles that are explaining how to set up SMTP, for example, okay, or my WooCommerce emails are not sending. But I see all kind of searches that people are doing. So we have an article that explains how to do it. We're actually explaining to people how to do it, but not everyone is interested in doing that. They just prefer to have somebody else do that for them. So yes, it's right that most of the people that will run into this article will try to do it themselves, which is completely fine. We're happy to help anyone. But some of them will come and, want to hire us for a bug that they have. Then they see the level of service, and that's what makes them join. So I would definitely think that, doing hard sell on membership is something that is really, really hard. I never went in this direction. I know there are some companies that do that and they're successful. They're selling only memberships. You can't do any one-time fixes with them, and it's fine. I mean, that's their way of working, and I guess everyone has their own funnel, right?
And that's the beauty of the ecosystem too, and that's something that you highlighted off camera before this call too, is that it is so vast. I mean, the WordPress ecosystem is so huge that there's plenty of room for all sorts of companies doing their own thing and finding the processes that resonate best with them. And one thing that becomes really clear the longer we talk is that the team really is the backbone of any agency, really, especially the way that you are running this. So I would love to know what your day-to-day looks like. Like, how do you ensure that the people on your team are trained and then stay productive?
Okay, well, there's a lot of day-to-day processes that I have built in order to make sure that I keep myself sane, because managing a 24/7 agency is definitely not something that
How many team
easy.
members do you have, by the way?
If we're talking about only developers and the people that are doing the maintenance, it's 17. But in total, we're 25 people that are working full-time in Fixrunner. Other than other people that I hire, for example, the guy that is doing the ads for us, Edwards, it doesn't work for me. It's just like he has his own company. So I do hire other people outside of Fixrunner, but SEO and stuff like that are people that are working today full-time and in Fixrunner. So I would say the first thing for me to be able to understand what's going on, who is working, what are they doing, is Time Doctor. So probably a lot of you guys are familiar with the Time Doctor. I'm gonna share my screen real quick, so you can see it, I guess. So yeah, you can see. I can see here actually who is working online, what they're doing. This software has a lot of features in it that gives me screenshots of what they're working on. There is I see that, for example, specific developer is working on a website and the number of tickets. So there's a lot of important information that you can find on Time Doctor, and that gives me an idea who is working on what and when. Now, it's important to say I don't use it to spy on my guys. I don't really care if they're working the whole shift, or they're a little bit of resting for a couple of minutes. That's not the purpose of it. The purpose of it is to number one, have some kind of an idea what they're working on, how long it takes. If we see somebody work the whole month on 10 tickets, and that's what he marked over there, we understand there is a problem. but I don't use it for that. I don't really care what they're doing. I want to see a clean ticket system, and I want to see at the end of the day, I want to see good responses from the customer, which is our rating. That's really all I care about. I don't look at how much they work. I mean, they're people as well. They are not robots. They cannot work every minute. That's not the purpose of this software. It's only to
that would also be a colossal waste of your own time as well if you were to spy on your team members.
Yeah, I don't use it at all. We also use it to track time worked on a client. So in Fixrunner, we don't sell unlimited fixes. There's many companies that says unlimited fixes. Whoever works in this industry knows that most of the times it's okay, but you're always going to run into this customer that is going to take it to the max, this unlimited support. And we don't offer that. We offer, we have different plans, up to custom plans. It starts from an hour and a half a month, up to even 30 hours a month. So we keep it for tracking. If we see a customer, that have 6 hours on his quarterly plan, and he used 7 hours or 8 hours or 9 hours, he's not going to hear from us. We're not going to even contact him. But if we see somebody that is abusing the system and he's like, keep sending tickets, we're going to tell him, hey, you signed up for this plan. You got not only 6 hours, you got 10 hours. But from this point, if you want more support, you either need to renew or upgrade or, pay for other requests you're making. So I'm using Time Doctor for that as well. Going back to your question, you're asking me about how do I manage, my time. So everything is kind of automatic in a lot of ways. I'm not a part of the support anymore. I've built it in a way that there is team leaders. Everyone knows what time they're coming. They're going into the Zendesk. All the tickets are coming to Zendesk, and even the one-time fixes are coming to Zendesk. So when in every shift there is a team leader, there is monitoring all the tickets that are coming. If they're coming, and that's a fix from a member, they will go and will be assigned to one of the developers. If it's something that requires a quote, I've trained my team leaders to give the right quote to the person. This person will get a reply really fast. He will reply back that he agrees to the quote. And that's it. This ticket will be assigned to a developer, and once it is done, it's going to go through the process of basically talking to the customers, which is something that I do until today. I like it. I think I'm good at that. Being modest.
Yeah.
But it's not only me. My guys are doing that as well. But it's something that I still do. I'm still involved, in some of the processes when talking to customers for the first time, understand what their needs, and basically offer them the right plan. So that is the process, of the support, which I think is the most important thing. Really, in all the list of things that I have to do, we don't think about. We don't think about when the customer comes to us. It doesn't matter if he's a member or a new fix. All we have in mind is how we can help this person. We'll deal with the money later. Of course, everything needs to be upfront. We need to tell him how much it's going to cost. We don't want to surprise anyone with anything. But all we have in mind is how we can help them. And from that point, it's kind of easy. So that's the process of the support is pretty much automatic in the way that it works. And I have other processes for talking about the AdWords that you were asking earlier. I have a good tip that I can give some of the viewers that we have not only AdWords. We are using a software named Leader Online that is basically helping us understand exactly what is the most profitable sources that we have that brings us leads. So it can be if we tried a Facebook campaign, we stopped it because obviously we saw it's not bringing the results we want. But if we're doing AdWords, then we know, for example, which keywords are performing the best, how much money we got from that keyword. And in my case, in specific, it also gives me an idea of, let's say somebody came and did a transaction with us for a small amount, for example, $50, $100, $200, but it really doesn't matter, for one time. I can always see easily when he comes back, his past transactions, where he came from exactly. Like, so I can see, that's how I can see a lot of time people came from a specific ad, pay a few one-time fixes, and then eventually they came and became a member. But I can see actually the source, if it's organic, if it's from Google Ads. So it's a really great tool that I recommend using.
And it's really important to measure that, because you can only improve when you measure something. Otherwise, you would just shoot in the dark every time you try something.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can tell you that before I used this this tool, I was throwing a lot of money of experimenting things that I didn't really have data how good they are. So, you know, it's just something that I recommend everyone doing. Just track what exactly brings you most of the profit. And remember, it's not always in the first transaction. You don't look at a customer. You know, if you look at Google AdWords, in my opinion, we are spending way more than anyone in this industry on Google AdWords. There is a reason for that. You don't see immediate ROI. You just, you know, some months you're spending money, closing deals, and you're even short. You can spend $10,000 in Google Ads and bring only 6 back. And imagine you put the money on it, you put your work, you put your tools. So in your head, you're thinking, oh, I'm losing money. But it's not true. It's not true for sure, because for the long run, if you know how to work and you know how to manage this type of business, it is profitable if you know, and you have obviously the funds to do that. So that as far as the AdWords. And again, every department has its processes. We have people that are doing SEO. So, you know, there are tools. I get reports on what is done on the SEO, and with these people, I usually do like a call once a week, in 2 weeks, just to see where we're standing, what are the plans, and where we're going. So I would say, you know, to wrap this question up, I'm kind of like all over. Some days I'm looking at how is the team doing on the support. Some days I'm more focused into SEO. Some days I'm focused on building new processes. You know, I can tell you that I've you know, this company is working full time from 2016. I can tell you that I'm still learning things and I'm still improving things, and I don't think this thing ends. I think that there's always
that's true. Yeah, I agree on that 100%. Well, one thing I would love to circle back to is the idea of implementing team leaders, because that is obviously a very important step in removing yourself from the day-to-day business, and that is eventually what I would assume many agency owners aspire to. Is they want to escape the hustle, they want to escape working 10 to 12-hour days, just because they don't want to take an 8-hour day job. So I'd rather work 12 hours on my own rather than 8 hours for an employer. When was the time you felt that it was the right step to bring on a team lead? I would imagine it is a little bit like a chicken and the egg problem, where you need to do something, but you don't have the funds to do it eventually.
Yeah.
So I would love your perspective on that.
So yeah, this wasn't easy, and I am lucky to have the right people. I'll be honest, at the beginning, I couldn't even find somebody to take this kind of responsibility. You know, what I did, I basically worked 20 hours a day. I mean, I was around the clock, focusing mostly on providing service, and you know, once I started adding people to my agency, then you start recognizing who is more of a good fit to be you know, a team lead. That's how it turned out for me. So I have some people that I brought in. I trained them myself with a lot of things that I do, and at some point I recognized, you know, that this person is the right fit to be a team lead. And then, you know, have a conversation to that person that already works in your company. You explain what are your expectations. You make sure that they get paid enough to to make this a part of their life. I mean, a lot of those people came from places where they want to work 8 hours, and in the rest of the time they want to do some other freelancer work, because sometimes in freelancer there is more money. You're doing like a one-time project, so you want to have this thing that is safe, and you have another channel when you're making a little bit more money. So everyone that works with me knows, I mean, I don't have a problem with them doing some freelancing work, but then where they're working Fixrunner in their hours, they're here, they're completely dedicated. But my team leaders, they know they cannot do that. They cannot work, they cannot do things outside of Fixrunner. They're dedicated to that. They're getting paid enough to make sure that they're not going to have any worries about money. And again, it was a process. It wasn't something that I could immediately get somebody and decide that he's going to be my team lead. At the beginning, I put a lot of effort myself, and obviously, with time, you get to know a lot of people. People are coming and go, and most of the people that actually started working in Fixrunner are still here. Most of them, not all, but a big part of them.
That speaks for the culture at your company. Definitely does.
Excuse me, I didn't hear that.
That speaks for a nice culture at Fixrunner.
Yes. Yes. So that's basically how I decided who's going to be a team lead. It was during the process of me hiring people. At the beginning, it was only me putting a lot of effort until I get to that point, and a lot of them are good developers. Probably, I wouldn't consider myself a developer. I'm entrepreneur, so I don't think I'm not a developer. I have a lot of knowledge in WordPress, but even these people, since I had a lot of experience in doing what we're doing, I have trained them to, not how to write CSS, but processes and other stuff that are basically helping us manage. And it's another important thing. You mentioned that at the beginning. I can say maybe I've built this company and I put it together, but I can tell you 100% this whole company is the guys that are behind it. There's no way in the world that I could run something that works so nice without people that are dedicated. So definitely my team is a big strength of this business.
Yeah, and that is so important. I really respect your humbleness in this step, because it is easy when you are the founder of a company to see yourself as the driving force, whereas really, if you are not executing the day-to-day and essentially bringing in the money, delivering the service, if somebody else is doing that, they are the backbone, and you are just, quote unquote, pulling the strings and keeping things together.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I would love to talk about that business aspect for a moment before we start wrapping up this conversation. Especially what I like to talk about, and this will be a little bit uncomfortable. I'm putting you a little bit on the spot here, but if you were to start all over, what were business decisions that you would do differently when you started Fixrunner again?
Well, I have a long list, but I will tell you, some of the important things. I had, one of the first things that I would do is probably I would make people sign on an NDA and contract at the beginning when they work with me. Not that I'm worried about somebody copying me. I don't have a problem with that. I'm even sharing things here, and I have no problem. In the conversation we had, I told you I'm all about helping people, and it's I don't have a problem with that. There is enough room for everyone. But I had cases in the company that people that were still working for me were copying things within my company that I found out later, which was a very ugly thing. So obviously I removed those people from doing anything. But that's probably the first thing. I would make sure that I have some NDA and contract signed with anyone that works. Anyone that works for me, I don't have a problem if they go outside and they even do the same business model. It's all fine, but not when you're a part of this. You can't sit in a business where I have a lot of so many leads and so many data, and
of course, yeah.
So that's probably one of the first things.
Makes no sense at all.
Oh, yeah, so that's probably the first things that I would have I would do different. Other than that, things that I'm learning today, I would have started with this portal that we're building in the past couple of months, probably before. Small changes that will probably make my life easier when I'm looking at the whole picture today. At the beginning, also, I didn't sell any hosting, and today we're integrating the hosting in our plans, which is very successful. We have a lot of people that are doing memberships with us that have hosting in that integrated, and it's good for our business, obviously, because we have we're basically getting them on something we're comfortable of working with. We know they're getting the best hosting, fast hosting, and then it's easier for us to to handle their websites, and it's good for them. A lot of them don't want to come to some company that is doing the maintenance for them, and then there's a problem with the maintenance. They say, oh no, it's your hosting, and then there's like a ping pong. Oh, it's your hosting, go to your hosting, they don't want to deal with that. They just want to have something that works good for them. So these are most of the things probably that I would have changed. Other than that, I think we did not bad.
That's not the worst conclusion to draw after running a business for years.
Well, I like to stay humble, like you said.
Really nice. Sam, we've covered a lot of ground here, and I appreciate your transparency and your openness about sharing not just the success stories, but also the not so pretty things about running a business. If people want to get in touch with you, obviously they can go to fixrunner.com. I would love to end this with maybe a short summary of the lessons you've learned and what entrepreneurs in this business need to understand. Like what is one of the mindset shifts you had to make in order to really run Fixrunner to the level that you're at right now?
So I would say that getting into this type of business, really, everyone can start with that. They need to understand that the first thing that they need to think about is basically how they help the customer, and not always think about the endpoint, which is the subscription or how much he's going to pay you. Once you are very transparent and you help a customer and you do it fast, you really care about what's going on with their business. That's, I think, the key to our success, is that we really care. We really, if a customer something is wrong on his website, we want to get it fixed faster than they do. And I think that's the main thing that people should be focused on. Don't think about the end goal, just to make him join, because this is the last part. They will join once you'll give them good service. They will join, and they wouldn't want to go anywhere else.
Yeah,
that's probably how I see it. So and in order to get in touch with me, I'm on Fixrunner. People can always come in and fill out a contact form and ask my attention on. You can come on Facebook, I guess, LinkedIn. Yep. LinkedIn is probably a good channel.
You are in the WP Mastery Facebook group as well with the Fixrunner profile, and obviously everybody who's watching this, if you want to get in touch with Sam, you can direct message me too, and I'm happy to set up an introduction. If you're watching the replay, please type the words replay into the comments so that we know. And even in the replay, leave your questions in the comments. I will make sure that you get the answers from Sam or myself. Appreciate you spending the time with us, Sam. Appreciate everybody who's watching this, and we'll say goodbye. Talk to you very soon.
Thank you very much. I had fun.